Wake up, southeastern North Carolina. This is Curtis Wright on the beat. WFNC 640 AM, WAAV 980 AM. It's 8:10, and it is hour number 3. We're moving along quickly here today. We have a lot to talk about. And on mic with me, our next guest, and we're honored to have him back. And the timing couldn't be more perfect. I'm not saying it's positive, but it couldn't be more perfect. And that's former Congressman from New York, Joe DioGuardi. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Curtis. How are you?
I'm doing great. Well, Congressman, I've got a number of questions for you because of your background, your unique background. I just have on a number of issues this morning, and I guess I have to start with the super committee. You know, Newt Gingrich said a number of months ago, this is the stupidest idea I've ever heard of. I thought, as he alluded to, that it was illegal. You know, we have a structure of government, and that structure of government of oversight and advise and consent and authority, who's got the authority in our three branches of government, I thought was pretty clear. I just thought this was the dumbest idea, especially when you had Republicans coming out saying from the beginning, we know we're not going to agree. We know we're going to have a stalemate. We know we're going to be back where we're going to be at the end of November. And here we are.
Those people on the committee, they knew how they were going to vote. You put your finger on it. The problem is political gridlock, a dysfunctional government. We not only need economic reform, tax reform, we need political reform. Our system is not working. In the last 2 years, I mean, think about it, Curtis, we haven't had a budget. Mm-hmm. Can you imagine a country of this size with an economy of this size not having a budget? And therefore, we have to pass these continuing resolutions just to get enough money to limp along, and that tells you we have no plan.
I don't hear enough talk about, from the Republicans, is it that they don't know how to communicate? Folks, because we have compromised so much on basic, prudent, sound financial principles is why we're in this mess, and there are things that cannot or no longer can be compromised.
You know, you sound like my father. He came off the boat in 1929. You know, fourth grade education in a small farming town in Italy. He had a grocery store with vegetables in the Bronx. I was raised in that store, and I never forget him. Not only did he work hard and have this determination to succeed, he had this sense that you had to produce, that you had to do something. And he told me, he says, one day you're going to be working for someone, Joe. Make sure you produce because that employer cannot pay you unless he makes money. Mm-hmm. So he already had, without a formal education, a sense that you had to have a goal in life to produce. We don't have that goal right now, and we're stuck in this gridlock.
Now we find out last week, and I want your perspective on this, the Fed is the largest holder of American debt.
Well, of course. I mean, we've got all kinds of, what do you think the Fed has been doing?
Well, printing and buying.
Buying, bonds, been printing money, disguising what's really going on. And the biggest danger, that ticking time bomb that I've talked about on your show several times, is debt. Because sooner or later, the interest rate's going to go up. 10-year treasuries this morning, the return was 1.99%, less than 2% on a 10-year treasury bond, meaning you're getting no return on your 401k plans and your retirement plans. But those interest rates are going to creep back up again, and we've got a huge amount of debt. As of the end of our fiscal year, September 30th, 2011, $15 trillion we hit. That's the bonded debt. That doesn't include what I've been railing about, another $45 trillion that should be on the books for Social Security and Medicare and everything else. And one of the things that I've been talking about is passing on a huge debt to the next generation, but we're hiding it.
But, you know, inflation's seeping in, costs are going up. Here we are with all the things we're talking about. I don't understand two things. One, how does a president stand before the American people and say, we're going to have to get aggressively more involved, and we have an obligation to help fix the problem in Europe, number one. And two, how is it a president can maybe I have three. How can a president even make that? Where's the authority to make that type of a promise that we're going to go help bail out Europe? And number three here in this list is, How do you feel about the Republican leadership? I mean, I think this is a time to seize the moment. I think this is a time to say we can't wait another day, another month. We got to get this thing solved, and we need to get it solved now.
Absolutely. Political leadership is what we need. The country senses that we have no leadership, and this is what's creating the uncertainty on both sides of the aisle. You talked about the super committee, but before that we had the bipartisan gang of six in the Senate.
Right.
And before that, we had the debt commission with Simpson and Bowles. And then I said before we had 2 years without a budget. So it tells you that Congress has failed. So on the one side, the most powerful part of government, as far as I'm concerned, is Congress. When you look at both houses, the treaties to end the war, and in the House you have the ability to tax and to spend. And on the president, you don't have someone who has a clear message. So they're groping around. This uncertainty is killing our economy. We've got unemployment. We don't know where it's going. Tax reform they keep talking about, but no one has put a clear plan on the table. We know that China is now cooling down. We had them on our side economically when we had the big drop in 2008. Europe is in a recession or heading for a big one. We've got the Mideast. Look at it. Egypt, Syria, Iraq. We're still in a war in Afghanistan costing us $100 billion a year. Obama can't even decide to get out of there or at least reduce that price. And half that war, $1 billion a week, is on infrastructure when we've got bridges crumbling over here and, as you said, inflation. So we've got a lot of problems. And you might say, Joe, what's the solution? We've got to restore confidence in America.
But see, I know you may think I'm being simplistic. But see, this is what I've told my listeners and people when I speak. See, we finally have come to that crossroad in America. We have two diametrically opposed ideologies. And the one, because we've tolerated it, has brought us to our knees. And we cannot tolerate any longer. Now, people are calling this or characterizing this as political gridlock. Well, you know, it's like my daughter coming to me and saying, Dad, I know I got caught drinking twice with the car, but come on, give me another chance.
Right.
And you have to say, no, I'm sorry. We can't. I'm not. It's done. Give me the keys.
As I said in my book, Unaccountable Congress, it doesn't add up.
Right.
You've got a credit card mentality. We're spending money we don't have. We're borrowing from countries we don't trust. And we're putting the American dream in jeopardy. And what's worse than that, as a CPA, I pointed out that we're not recording on the books the real debts. So we're fooling America. It's not just a matter of doing the wrong things today. We're not even telling people how bad it is. Just pass it on. Kick the can down the road.
Congressman, I'm so sorry we're out of time. I know we'll continue this. Maybe we can continue this discussion next week. Former Congressman from New York, Joe DioGuardi, I appreciate, as always, you're giving us your insight and perspective. Thank you very much for being with us.